We have a number of short verses we recite, chant, sing in the Zen tradition. And I think these verses, if we're, willing to look at them and see what they're saying, that these really help us concentrate our mind, and they point us to that which is right in front of us. So the two verses I'm going to talk about with you are the lecture verse and the invocation to Achalanatha that we sing as part of the evening office. And I'm going to start with the lecture verse. So I'm sure you're all familiar with the lecture verse. The unsurpassed, penetrating, and perfect truth is seldom met with, even in 100,000 myriad kalpas. Now we can see and hear it, we can remember and accept it. I vow to make the Buddha's truth one with myself. So I was talking to Reverend Master Oswald today at our brunch about the lecture verse, and he told me something that I never knew before, but apparently the lecture verse originates from Wu Zetian, Zetian. She was the first and only female emperor of China. Okay, and she reigned from 690 to 705 CE, Common Era. And her time was known for culture and economic prosperity. It was a time for promoting women's status and patronage of Buddhism and Taoism. It's said that she had, this is very interesting, 840,000 stupas constructed and many Buddhist temples built for practice. Also during her time, China expanded, in terms of the amount of land that it had. According to some people, she's a controversial figure, and whether she faced accusations of ruthlessness and brutality, whether that was sexism or it actually happened, I have no idea. It was a long time ago, and we have her to thank for this lecture verse. She probably commissioned somebody to do it. I'm not sure. Okay. So the unsurpassed, penetrating, and perfect truth is seldom met with. So we often reflect in Buddhism on how fortunate we are to have come upon the Buddha's Dharma, okay, in this lifetime. For some of us, this has been a life-changing event in our life. When I give a Dharma talk, I often reflect, when we say this verse, that the unsurpassed, penetrating, and perfect truth, and actually this whole verse, is not about me giving the perfect Dharma talk. So that verse is not about the person giving the talk. It's about the Buddha's truth and the Buddha's Dharma, which we try our best to teach from. And the Buddha's Dharma goes much deeper than I can. It's based in a deep understanding of human suffering and the way to a cessation of suffering. The Buddha's teachings are profound, and they show us the way to truth. So in this little bit of the verse that I recited, I like the word penetrating. This is unsurpassed, penetrating, and perfect truth, because the teaching has to be able to penetrate our thick skulls for it to help us. I don't know about you all, but I have a pretty thick skull, and I can harden my heart sometimes, and we have to change, okay, to be able to let that get in. The unsurpassed, penetrating, perfect truth is seldom met with, even in 100,000 myriad kalpas. So if you're not familiar with the Buddhist term kalpa, I'm going to read to you a definition of kalpa. The nearest approach to the concept of eternity in Buddhism, in Buddhist thought, is the kalpa, which is an inconceivably long period of time. The kalpa is divided into 4 parts: period of world dissolution, period of world chaos, period of world formation, period of world continuation. The simile used in a discourse of Buddha is as follows. Suppose, O monks, there was a huge rock of one solid mass, 1 mile long, 1 mile wide, 1 mile high, without split or flaw. And at the end of every 100 years, someone should come along and rub against it with a silken cloth. Then that huge rock would wear off and disappear quicker than a cowphone. Of such world periods, according to Buddha, there have been many hundreds of thousands. In the Buddhist view of things, there is no limit to the process of world dissolution, chaos, world formation, and world continuation, nor to the number of Buddhas who will appear in the course of this process. So a kalpa is a long period of time, you know, and right. So how fortunate we are to have come into contact with the Buddha's teachings. The verse continues. Now we can see and hear it, we can remember and accept it. To be fully awake and aware, we have to use all our senses: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. Okay. With acceptance, we bring the teaching of the truth from mind into our hearts. We make what starts as something intellectual into our daily practice. We live the Dharma. The last sentence in this verse, I vow to make the Buddha's truth one with myself. I vow to make the Buddha's truth. It's not we vow, but it's I vow to make the Buddha's truth, because each of us has to do this as an individual, okay? There's no group think here. You and me walk the path of training for ourselves. And it's true that if you truly walk the path of training, Buddha's ancestors, the Sangha will be there with us. And the Buddha, as we know, clearly taught that we can find what he found. Okay, so that's just a little explanation of the lecture verse. So the invocation that we sing at evening service to Achalanatha, hail to the mandala, let us be engulfed within its praises evermore, that by our own wills and vigilance may we our fetters cut away. May we within the temple of our own hearts dwell amidst the myriad mountains. Hail, hail, hail. So an invocation, this invocation to Achalanatha, is calling for help, support, inspiration, protection. It's calling for a peaceful night. It's actually when after meditation and when everybody's lights out, one of the monks goes around the temple and blesses the temple, and we do a short ceremony at the Achalanatha shrine, and we recite this invocation at that time. So Achalanatha, as you know, is one of our great protectors. And Achalanatha is actually a form of Avalokiteshvara. It's a form of compassion. Sometimes a slight fierceness is needed in expressing compassion. You know, sometimes it has to be something super direct, and it's compassionate. When we say hail to the mandala, I'm sure you're all familiar with a mandala is, but I looked it up in the dictionary, and it's an art form, circular design containing concentric geometric forms, images of deities, and symbolizing the universe, totality, or wholeness. So in Buddhism, a mandala is about our connectedness to everything. There are many scrolls depicting mandalas. They're mind-blowing. You know, the art in them and all the intricate connections of things. They show an expansive universe with all these beings that are out there helping us, and that we're part of it. Let us so be engulfed within its praises evermore. So we're part of the big connectedness, interconnectedness, the mandala that is there to help beings. Let us so be engulfed within its praises evermore, that by our own wills and vigilance may we our fetters cut away. So fetters are the illusions which chain us to the cycle of birth and death. They are the habits in our body, speech, and mind that create suffering. It's by turning our wills to do something about these areas where we are suffering, that we are able to cut our fetters and do something about it. And as you know, most things, it's just not a question of boom, you cut it and it never comes back. Well, a lot of things just come back and we have to continue to work through them. That's why vigilance and diligence is so important in practice, because you just have to be with it. Okay? Reverend Master Jiyu said that the definition of religion is to do something about our suffering, cut our fetters that bind us to suffering. It's not this highfalutin practice, but it's something very practical to help us deal with our suffering. And we have to want to do this. So it's an act of will. We have to want to do it, and we have to keep at the training in these places where we suffer. May we within the temple of our own hearts dwell. So I love this expression, dwelling in the temple of our own hearts. Reverend Master Jiyu used to say that we carry the monastery in our heart. We carry the practice here in our heart. It's always there inside us to help guide and protect us. We use the expression internalizing the practice and make it true for ourselves. Well, this is doing this. We have to do the practice ourselves, and no one can do it for us. But when we do the practice, again, Buddhas, ancestors, the Sangha, they're right there with us. They always were. May we, within the temple of our own hearts, dwell amidst the myriad mountains. So mountains in Buddhism are often considered sacred places. Master Jiyu said that it's traditional for a monastery to be built near a mountain. Okay? Mountains are places of beauty and solitude. They help the heart and mind go peaceful. Large mountains point to the universe. They point up, okay? They encourage us to look up. In the Far East, mountains are thought to be the home of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. When I went to China, I visited a number of sacred mountains. One of them was for Samantrabhadra, and you climb up the mountain. At the very top of the mountain, there's a beautiful statue of Samantrabhadra. And this verse that we recite at our evening office ends with hail, hail, hail. Okay, so Reverend Master used to say about the end of the scripture of great wisdom, she always would say, "Don't forget the hail." Okay, so it's not in some of the translations, but she just felt that the hail is to welcome, greet, acclaim. It's kind of saying yes. Okay, so Reverend Verdun told me something interesting when he's, as you know, in Germany, and so he's translated the scriptures into German so they can recite them in German and understand them. But he said when he got to the end of the scripture of great wisdom, he couldn't use the word hail because, of course, the word hail in German is heil. And if you said at the end of a scripture, heil, 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 that wouldn't go over too well, and wouldn't be a good idea. So he just found another word that expressed the hail. So that's my very short Dharma talk. I just like those two verses in particular because they really help me in my practice. They really help me concentrate my mind and pay attention. So we got time for questions, thoughts,